Okay, so you've done the decluttering and you've done the cleaning. So how do you keep your space staying organized? Hi, if you're new here, my name is Alicia and I live outside of Nashville, Tennessee. And on this channel, I like to talk about decluttering and DIY cleaning and budgeting. Some of that stuff will be in the future since this is a new channel. I'm in a new spot today because my regular spot is super sunny and it was really reflecting on the screen, and I don't think anybody wants to see any of that. So I'm over here for today. Um, yeah. So, how do we keep our space organized after we've done all the decluttering and all the cleaning? One of the first things that I think a lot of people want to do is we go on the Pinterest boards and we look at all the beautiful photos and all the aesthetic photos of, things being organized in their little containers and their baskets and things like that. And that can work for some people, but the problem is that sometimes we can get caught in the throw everything in the basket, throw everything in the thing, and we'll deal with it later. So, how do we get away from that? First, look around your house and see if you have anything that you can reuse or repurpose. For instance, I have a couple of fruit baskets that I've purchased from farmers markets years ago, and they would have peaches in it and stuff like that. And now I've got one that's holding a bunch of recipe books. And then I have another one that's holding a bunch of my soaps and stuff from, stores and whatever. So that's how I'm reusing and repurposing that, keeping it all organized in one spot and in its place, but it's got a new purpose, because otherwise, what would I use that basket for? I mean, you could probably use baskets for anything. So you could probably put like some hand towels in a basket if you've got something that's big enough that you can reuse. Um, what else could you put in there besides some books? Yarn. Since we talked about yarn in one of my videos, you could put some yarn in there. I would recommend putting a liner in some of those baskets because they, some of that wicker and stuff they like to catch, and you don't want to screw up your yarn. But that's one thing that you can do. We did at one point purchase a bunch of containers from the Container Store, I think it was called, years ago. And they were, first of all, supposed to be this aesthetic type of thing. And I don't think I have a photo to show you, but we made this big shelving on the wall. And we wanted to put a bunch of baskets on there that matched. Now those baskets are all over the house, but they're still being used. So if you've got something like that, now you're in a new space, still reuse those baskets. They don't all have to be in one spot. You could put them anywhere and they can still be useful. The main thing that you want to go for when you're looking for reusing and repurposing is functionality first, especially if you're on a budget, and especially if you're trying to not bring in new things. Always go for functionality first. Yeah, I know it's nice to get the cute things and whatever, but if you're trying to save money, and who's not trying to save money right now? You really want to go for that first. And then if you have the money to be able to purchase something that's more aesthetically pleasing later down the road, go ahead and do that. That's perfectly fine. But for now, we want to focus on functionality. So like I said, anything that you can use that's, you can repurpose in a different spot, because sometimes we get stuck in our heads and we go, oh, this thing is only for this room, or this thing is only for this type of thing. But think outside the box. What else can you use anything for? I actually have, and I did not film it because I didn't want to clean it. I'm going to be honest. I didn't want to clean it. But I have, back in the early 2000s, and they may still have these in the store. I don't shop much anymore, but they used to have these trays that had like a siding on it, and it was made for big candles and square candles and stuff like that. I have my toiletries on there. So that's thinking outside of the box. So on there, I've got like a jar that's holding like my makeup brushes, and then I've got like, Vicks on there and some other stuff, and my cotton pads and whatever. It's all sitting in that little tray, and it's on the table, and it's out of my way, but it's all organized and in one spot. So that's one way that you can. Another way that actually you can reuse or repurpose something that wasn't even made for its intended use. If you do decide that you want to go the route of buying baskets and containers and stuff, see what your thrift stores have. For instance, we have an art thrift supply shop in Nashville, and occasionally they will have baskets that are on the cheap. So, and when I say cheap, I mean like, something where if you went to Target and found a $50 basket, you might see that same basket in this thrift shop for like $10. So check those places first. They go fast, because obviously it's going to go fast, because those baskets for some reason are way expensive, and I'm not really understanding why. If anybody knows why. Like, are they handmade and not machine made? I'm lost on that. I just know they're really, really expensive. So if you can find any baskets, even if they're not the pretty that you're looking for, but it'll be useful for you in some way in your home, you might want to grab it, just so you can get yourself a little organized and whatever. But check those places first. Check the thrift stores, check your art supply stores, things like that. See what they have before you go into a big box store and pay full price, because you are going to be paying a markup on those baskets. Okay, so now you've got all your containers and things together, and you've got your spaces that you want to have your containers, and you've got your baskets by the door and wherever else you want to put the stuff. How do we keep it from collecting crap? If you're not already in the habit of just kind of going through every couple of days and giving things the homes that they're supposed to have, and they're all just kind of collecting, by a basket in the door, maybe use a calendar on your phone or an analog calendar or something, and try to set aside a day a week or a day a month, however your schedule is going to work for you, where you can go through these collective baskets that are catching everything, and just start giving homes to whatever is in there. You do have homes for these things, right? I would hope at this point. If you don't, you might want to think about trying to find homes for some of these things. There are some things that just don't have homes. That's why we have junk drawers. Speaking of junk drawers, you might want to actually go through those too as you're going through your baskets. Just a thought. But yeah, so schedule a weekly day that's good for you to just kind of go through it for 5 minutes, or a monthly, depending on how fast you accumulate stuff. So that'd be a good way to do that. Also, all those spots that you've decluttered and worked so hard to like get looking good, kind of glance at that too and just see, okay, is there anything here that I know has a home and it's just been sitting here for like 3 weeks and I just didn't want to deal with it? That would be the time to go ahead and do that. Just go ahead and put it back in its home. Going back to reusing and repurposing, um, another thing that you can do too is, if you have kids and they've outgrown their dressers and you have the space for it and you're getting them a new dresser, because they're probably going to need a new one at some point, you can reuse those dressers to hold storage for something else. For instance, I have 2 dressers. One of them's got towels and first aid stuff and things like that are in there. Another one I keep in my craft room, and it's got small boxes that I could use for whatever in the future, that I thought were pretty. It's got other things in there. It's almost like another junk drawer, but it's in my craft room. So if you know what that's like, so it's just craft junk. Um, Talking about decluttering our hobbies and stuff, but sometimes you can't get rid of some things. So that's another thing. So I just put a dresser that I actually got off of a friend who was getting rid of theirs. But it's the same concept. If you're getting rid of a dresser, think about maybe reusing that to hold linens or first aid stuff or things for your cats or whatever. There's always another way that we can use something that we wouldn't have normally intended the use for. So that's all I have today for keeping your space organized. I will have more in the future, I'm sure. That's what I got for today. If anything in this video resonated with you, please drop a like and maybe think about subscribing. And I will see you later. Thank you so much for stopping by.